Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. I'm excited to get started as we rock and roll into today's training, into this week's training. Today is the 13th of May, 2024. We're off to good stuff. Yesterday was Mother's Day, and it was also my birthday. And it was fun for me because I was actually born on Mother's Day. And it was a lot of people yesterday were like, oh, that must be nice for your mom. I'm like, well, maybe some moms might have appreciated it, but my twin brother and I were number 9 and number 10 on Mother's Day when we were born. And I think the first 8 was all the pleasure she needed, and she just got 2 extras for the fun of it. But it's always good to be reminded of my birthday and Mother's Day. It's sure fun for me. All right, so let's rock and roll into today's training. We're going to talk about contract vehicles. In particular, I was saying top contract vehicles for 8As, and so I'm going to show that. But the reality is every time I teach something about an 8A business or a woman-owned business, et cetera, in the federal market, it's all the same. The process is all the same. The only thing that differentiates is, and thanks for those happy birthday things, the only thing that differentiates is the data. So, for example, if I show you how to find set aside dollars, well, I can show you for an 8A, and then you just duplicate the process for HubZone or woman-owned or whatever, right? And so what I'm going to teach around contract vehicles will apply to everybody, the process, the lessons, and how I show you to do it. But contract vehicles are the main way federal agencies buy our products and services out there. And it's really important for us to know which ones are out there. I spent 20 years, I think, kind of embarrassed when somebody would ask me, because I had my own government contracting business, right? When somebody would ask me, do you know about this contract vehicle or that one? Especially it was larges who would ask that. I'm like, no, I don't know that one. And it wasn't until I sold my businesses and I started the GovCon Chamber and what I've been doing here. And I did this whole training and wrote a great article on contract vehicles when I realized that there are hundreds of thousands of contract vehicles out there. How on earth can I possibly know them? I could barely know 40, right? If they're out there. And the way the government takes those contract vehicles is they put them under something called spend under management, but basically they group them into how good are the contract vehicles for the government, right? And so there's something called best in class. There's about 40 of them. And these contract vehicles are considered best in class because of the way they help the government reach the vendors and to manage the spend that happens, and to make sure that what they're paying in one place for, let's say, a Dell computer is going to be pretty much consistent across all agencies. The government has a challenge with spending money unwisely, not because of people, but because of lack of awareness of what's out there. And then it goes down from tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 3 are the best vehicles after best in class. They're this next group, highly managed, so they call it spend under management. And we keep going down. So anyways, it's important to understand those contract vehicles. And that's why I wanted to pick today's topic, is to really help you deal with what I was dealing with back then. But I didn't have any of the information that was out there. And so there are some top vehicles you definitely want to be paying attention to. I might talk about them today as I go forward. But what I really want my training today is I want to share the process for how I find any of the vehicles that I should pay attention to, right? What's out there and what you might value. Let me go ahead and share my slides here. And we're going to get talking about top 8A contract vehicles. And if you're just coming in, the process that I teach will cover down on, it can be replicated for any type of contract vehicles. So in today's training, we're going to cover down on 3 things in the next 26 minutes, right? First thing I want to talk about is just a refresher, a reminder, always reminding ourselves why top contract vehicles or any contract vehicles are important. But most importantly, why is it important to know which ones are being used the most for 8As or for your business type? The second thing is how to approach contract vehicle holders. I actually was going to put that as the third bullet, but the third bullet, steps to find contract vehicles, is me going in and showing you in USA Spending, et cetera, how I do that. So I figured I'd start. I didn't want to run out of time, right? So I wanted to be able to share just a couple of quick tips on, if you find those contract vehicles, how do you go in and get on the contract vehicles as a potential teaming partner? Even if you're an unnamed teaming partner, you're just participating. All right, if you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I am the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we have repeatable, predictable results. And that's what I want for you. If you haven't done so already, sign up for our Government Contracting Success newsletter. We put all sorts of great information in there about how to succeed as a government contractor, including our next article is going to be right around this very thing about what are the top 10 contract vehicles for 8A small businesses in different categories. That's a newsletter article we're dropping. And that kind of thing is really helpful because we kind of accelerate you past the 80% of figuring it out on your own. We send you right to the top ones. So make sure you subscribe to that. And then thanks for I think we had almost 100 people register for today's training. LinkedIn is having some hiccups. If you're looking at the number of people here, it's kind of down. Like earlier in the last month, we were up in the 200, 300, and 400 attendees. Right now, LinkedIn is having a problem pushing it out, but that's fine. We've got us here, and I'm happy to train. But thank you for registering if you did. And if you didn't, I've got 4 more trainings this week. Go register for those. All right, so let's get started talking about just why contract vehicles are important. And begin that just with what are contract vehicles? And I know we got people in here very familiar with this part, right? But for all of us to get on the same page, contract vehicles, in my way of saying it, right? I like to summarize it down to the simplest statements that I can understand. Contract vehicles are basically just the government pre-negotiating a set of rates and things they're going to buy for the future. So an example is, let's say IT services. The government is thinking they're going to need some help desk services. They're going to need some software development services. They're going to need somebody to manage that cloud stuff that goes on. And they say, we know we're going to need a lot of that in the next 5 or 10 years. And we don't want to have to negotiate things like labor categories and some basic things out there. And we don't want to have to go through 1,000 perhaps responses. And so they want to negotiate a vehicle ahead of time that says, okay, if there's 300,000 businesses in the government or government contractors, how do we get that down to a much more manageable group? So then when we put a task order out that says, hey, I'm looking for somebody to manage our help desk, we have a smaller group of pre-negotiated rates in there. And so contract vehicles, there's, like I said, there's hundreds of thousands of them. They can be single award, meaning one company can get a contract vehicle where they have the vehicle and then they don't know what the work is yet. The work keeps dropping along. There's other vehicles that are multi-award contract vehicles, and these are contract vehicles that will go to multiple companies, right? So some go to, let's say 9 or 10 companies. I think like HCAT or another one, I'm just dropping acronyms, right? That one has like, let's say 20 or 30. And then it really goes up. Some have 100, 200 contract holders. These are people who have all proven they're eligible to do that type of work the government's going to want. And the government has kind of already proven that. And then there's thousands. So the 8A Star Street contract vehicle has 1,000 plus on there. The Navy's Seaport Next Gen contract vehicle has 2,000 plus on there. And then GSA schedule, if you're familiar with that, it's they call it a mass schedule, but there's many different schedules. Star Street is just one of the GSA schedules. But there's all these different contract vehicles on GSA, and even some of them have, I know one of my customers is on a vehicle where there's maybe 10 of them that are on it, and others have thousands, right? And so there's a huge group of people out there, but the whole idea of contract vehicles is pre-negotiated. The big thing you want to pay attention to this, though, is this is part of capture. When we look at an opportunity, we put it in our pipeline, we're trying to influence the government's decision on their acquisition approach. And the only thing I want to talk about acquisition approach for today is the contract vehicle, meaning which contract vehicle will they use? Will they use GSA? Will they use Oasis or Charge 3 or some other one? Do I have an agency BPA I might be able to convince them to use? Well, capture is about trying to get in early enough to have the conversation for you to get the KO to go, the contracting officer to say, maybe I'll put it on the one you're recommending, right? It doesn't mean you're always going to get it. The other flip side is you want to find out what contract vehicles they're using the most so that you can find partners. And we'll talk about that in 1 second. So I just wanted to give you, for today's topic around 8As, right, an idea of the dollars that are going to 8A businesses. And this is in USA spending. So you can go look at this data yourself. I'll show you a little bit of how I go after it. But just when you think about the dollars being sent, sole source contracts, is $10 billion in FY 2023. So that was the last full year. $10 billion that was going to 8A small businesses direct award. If you watch my training for last Monday, I talked about how a client of mine just went through the process and won a direct award by, and I lay out the process. So you can watch that training. It's a great training that just gives you those steps. But set aside is the competitive side of 8A, right? So there's opportunities that go direct award or sole source, meaning no competition, straight to that company. And then there's ones that are coming out set aside for only 8A competition. And about $4 billion was won in 2023 by 8A companies doing a set aside competition. And the last thing I put here was by recipient. And what I meant was basically $14 billion was set aside or sole source to 8A. Another $20 billion was won by 8As. I say this very loosely, but I believe that $20 billion could have been pushed to 8A set aside if 8As come together. Maybe not all of it right away, but think about that window. Clearly 8As are doing it. And if you're going to award it to me and I'm an 8A, why don't you just set it aside or maybe even direct award, right? So, but understanding the numbers is a helpful thing because that's what I'm going to look at when I find vehicles. I wanted to leave you an action item for this slide and for today's training, right? Is you want to find partners that are out there that are on contract vehicles, because if you don't have the contract vehicle that an opportunity is coming out on, then those partners can help you get access to it, even just as a sub. But 20% of something is better than 100% of nothing, right? 20% of something is better than 100% of nothing. Okay, so let's talk about how to approach contract vehicle holders. So I'm going to show you some of the top contract vehicles in a minute. And there'll be a lot of companies on there, but here's the 3 steps. And I guess I could have numbered them, but the 3 steps you want to pay attention to. This is what I would do, and this is what I teach my customers to do. If I find a contract vehicle and I say, okay, that's the top, that's one of the top ones I want for me as an 8A or even me as any other type of company, then the first thing I'm going to do is get the contact information. I can get it from the actual vehicle, so I can go into the contract vehicle. There's a couple of different ways, right? I can go into the contract vehicle on GSA, and GSA often puts who the point of contact is. So Stars 3 is a great example. The Stars 3 contract vehicle has 1,000 plus companies in there, and they have a point of contact, name, number, and email for every one of those contract vehicle holders. That's perfect. Now I know how to get hold of them. Another way of getting it is Seaport Next Gen, for example. I don't think I've ever been able to find just a definitive list. And so I always have to go into FPDS or USA Spending. But if I go into FPDS in this case, hopefully you know what that is, fpds.gov. But if I go to fpds.gov and find the holders, then I can take that company's UEI and go back to DSBS if I'm trying to find a small business partner and find their point of contact information in dsbs.sba.gov. And then the last one is for large businesses. Primarily, I'm talking about large businesses is the last tip from websites. I can go to a website if I'm looking at ITES 3 or ITES 4 when it comes out or something. Most of the large businesses put their contract vehicles on the website. They're actually doing it for the, I think they're kind of told they have to do this, put your contract vehicle on the website to make it easy for agency buyers to find you. Well, that's good for us small businesses because now I can go to the large business's website and I can find the contract vehicle I'm looking for. And in there, I will find the point of contact information for the program manager, often for the contract administrator, and sometimes for the subcontracts administrator. Those are 2 or 3 POCs that get me in the door. And so once I have that contact information, I'm building up that list of people I want to do, right? Then I send a simple email. And what I want you to think about is clear and concise email with one ask. Now, I wrote here, think a tweet. And the idea of think a tweet is people don't want to read paragraphs in an email. So you just want to reach out and say, hey, I saw you on the Oasis contract vehicle. We're interested in going after a couple of opportunities on that vehicle. Would you be open to meeting? And what I like to do is, if yes, I'm free next week, Tuesday or Thursday, 10 a.m. or 2 p.m., which would work for you. I saw somebody put out a message recently that says, well, let me know what time would work for you. Well, now you're just introducing all sorts of dialogue, which we call friction from making the choice to meet with you. But if you say Tuesday or Thursday, 2 p.m. or 10 p.m. or 10 a.m., you've given them a choice. They make a choice. It's all done. But it's very, very fast when you send a simple email. And the last one is when you meet with a company and they got that contract vehicle, right, and you're going in to talk about how you can provide value, how you can come in, for the most part, make sure you have that one specialty. You say, this is what we do. We're very good at AWS software development, let's say. And the idea is you want to be able to get in and fit somewhere. You want them to see where you can fit. You can always expand once you build a relationship. But at this point, you're trying to establish a new relationship with a contract vehicle holder. You're trying to help them see that if they bring you onto the team, and when I say bring you onto the team, I just mean as a subcontractor, not as a named partner on a contract vehicle. Nothing official, just teaming, right? But when they bring you onto that onto their team for contract vehicle activity, then they're able to see where you can fit, where they're weak, right? And so when you say you're one specialty to somebody, you'll get some no's and some yeses, and you want to be able to get those yeses and no's as fast as possible. And the quickest way to get a yes or a no is have a niche or just one specialty where it makes it really easy for people to understand. Hopefully that made sense there. Hey, before I continue and I show you where I find those contract vehicles, I just wanted to share some really exciting news. I'm launching a web-based solution to help small businesses who are under 10 million get to $10 million. And I want you to join the wait list for me. By the way, I'm reading this because I haven't memorized what I want to say, but it is really important to me that I wrote down what I said. But we solved the three biggest problems government contractors have, especially small businesses, right? Getting in to meet federal buyers. The second one is finding teammates who want to work with you. And the third one is identifying, pursuing, and responding to opportunities you can win. So if you're interested in learning more about that, just go to www.govconinAbox.com and join our wait list. I'd love to have you on the wait list. If you're already on the wait list, do me a favor and just throw in govconinabox.com onto the chat so other people know about it. Okay, let's talk about how to find contract vehicles. So here are just some steps I take to find contract vehicles. I didn't want to just make this perfect, right, where I have everything lined up. I want you to see kind of the struggle I go through because you're going to go through it. I don't want you to see me going boom, 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 and you're like, how come I can't go boom, boom, boom? It's like because no one goes boom, boom, boom. We all go boom, boom over here. Oh, let me turn around over there. So I want you to see that even people as experienced as me struggle to find it, and then we find it. And the one thing that I have that is a superhero strength is I don't give up. I know the answer's in there, and I want to find it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use USA Spending. This is my favorite. I could go into other tools to find top contract vehicles, USA or FPDS as an example, but USA Spending is my favorite. I'm going to go in there. There's a lot of good user interface. You'll see that in a second. The second thing is when I'm in there, I'm going to try to show you searching for contract vehicles by set aside and then searching for vehicles by winners. And so there's different ways of doing that, right? I can look in and see which 8A vendors are winning it. And then I can look at, did they do a competitive set aside? If they did, which one did they go to? So that's what we're going to do for the rest of our training here. Let me pull this up. And again, it's funny. I had it all up and all perfect, but I really want you to see a person go through it so it's the same. So this is usaspending.gov. If I come in here, what I'm really looking for is last year. That's where I want to start, right? Last fiscal year, I'm just trying to find top contract vehicles that are out there. The next thing I want to do is I want to find contracts, right? So here I'm just going to say, find me contracts that are out there. And actually, I'm going to modify that a little bit. Let me get rid of that. I'm going to expand it. I'm going to say what I want is actually delivery orders. So I don't want BPA calls at the moment. That's a different set of contract vehicles. I don't want definitive contracts at the moment because they're kind of like standalone contracts. But delivery orders, for the most part, are on a contract vehicle, right? It's just an easy way for me to show that to you. And then the next thing I'm going to show, and let's just start down here of show me 8A competed. And again, the fun part about going live is you never know what you're going to get. I have a feeling, but okay, this is a perfect amount for me to show you. So I'm coming up with, right now, I'm looking at 8A competed delivery orders and for fiscal year 2023. And you can see right here that it comes up with 1,000 different awards that were out there. And so what I want to do, if it's not done already, I wanted to sort it by the size. because I figure, why should we try to win 100,000 when we could win a $241 million contract? By the way, don't do that because we're not doing that. But the reason I like starting at the top somewhere here is I can just show some big data first, and then we'll go down to the little ones. All right, so here I'm going to click on this, and when I click on the award ID, it always opens a new tab, and I'm going to come in here and start looking at this and trying to figure it out. Sometimes it's easy for me, sometimes it's not. I got to tell you, with hundreds of thousands of contract vehicles, I don't remember them all. Also, because I do so much, I don't remember a lot of things too well. But what I do is I'm coming in here and I'm looking for this vehicle, what it is. And one of my favorite ways to do this is just grab this ID up here. And if you scrolled all the way down to the bottom, you would see the title, right? It's a unique award key. It'd be down here, but it's the procurement instrument identifier is what it's called. This information is where you can start looking at this, right? And the information, it's a lot of data and it's crazy. So I want you to see the process, but that sits at the top. And so if I'm lucky, I could find the information in here. But the first thing I do is I just come over to another screen and just hit enter, right? And when I do, if I'm lucky, I get to get something like USA spending coming right up. And so let's see what this looks like. So this one's a little harder. I can't tell. I don't know this one as well. No, this is still the, so this is a challenge I'm running into, right? This is still, this still looks like the opportunity and not the vehicle. And I'm not totally sure. Okay, so this one's a little harder for me to see. So let me just go back a step and just show you some of the others. Let's come down a bit. Actually, let me make it a little easier on myself, because what you want to do is kind of filter it to what you're good at. There's some things I don't sell, and so I wouldn't know what they are. So let me just filter this down even smaller to software development. Let me come up here really quick. So, okay, so I just added in my NAICS code. Let's say my NAICS code is software development in there. And now I did the search and I have 251. It's funny, I still have this guy at the top. Still have that guy at the top, which is pretty amazing. But I'm going to pop down to companies I know that are in there. So let's take SoftTech and see if I can do this one. So I'm going to click on it. So here it's IT support services. So if I do this right, it should take me right to the vehicle. So if I come in here, here it is. So IDV, it looks like a vehicle to me. Here we go. So this is just a GSA schedule. I can follow them in. Let me show you another one just so you can see let me show you soft RAMs. Come on, come down. That's funny. I would have found another one. So I was looking for a company called Soft Rams because I know they're doing one, but let's just take Advanced Technology as a different one. So if I come in here, this one's an interesting one. It's SBA something, but let me look at this vehicle. Maybe I should leave these tabs open so I can show you the results, because I already look at them and then I come back. I'm looking for my USA one first. Okay, I don't see it there, so let me back it up. I'm going to modify this really quick because my search is not getting me what I wanted there. So I'm going to restart this really quick. I'm going to get rid of the 8A competed at the bottom. And I'm just going to say 8A as a recipient type. So if I come in here, I'm coming to recipient type and then special designations and 8A program participants. So now I'm trying to modify this search a little bit. These top size ones are throwing me off a little bit. So I'm going to scroll down. I want to scroll down to a much smaller size for a second. I thought it would be fun to be there, but it popped around. Okay, so if I come into some of these, and I think I still have the same one. So let's open that guy. I'm going to close that guy. So when I come in, and this is a little tough for me because I had them. So it's funny, my as I work these, it's not playing out the way it did when I was testing it. I should have lined them up. I'm going to have to switch. I'm going to switch a different angle for you really quick. Let me just switch this. I'm going to change this award type. And let me change. I got all contracts, professional services. And let me change this one thing here. Let me just reset that search. I don't know if my search is screwed up on me. So what I'm really looking for, let me scroll that one down, is the 8A competed. This is, it's funny. I'm having a little hiccup in live training. It happens sometimes, but I literally was doing this before and I was like, oh no, let me put these tabs away and I'll just show you exactly how I got there. And then I screwed it up. But if I come in, I can begin to look at different contract vehicles. And so right here, you can see contract vehicles are listed by 8A competitive, right? And I'm going to go in and show this in 1 second. But if I come down, I want to get it even smaller. I do want to get it to the software development as an example. So you want to play on your NAICS. And I actually am running out of time. So I got to come back and maybe show this a second time. I'll refund your money. 1 second here. Okay. So one of the things I do when I come in is, and let me just filter it down one more time, a little smaller. So what I did, that last thing I did is I said, just show me new awards that are coming in. And if I look at these, what I'm trying to figure out is the contract vehicles that are out there. So clearly I can click on here and I can see some of the contract vehicles that are, these are the vehicles that are awarded. And so I can come in here and I can see some of the contracts that are awarded. But in here, it's this exercise, and I apologize, I'm messing it up, and I have to come back to you on it. But the data is not cooperating with me. But if I come in here, for example, this guy here, I really want that. I know that I can find the contract vehicle. And let me just try it one more time just to see if it's, I'm just having a complete mess up on the data. So I'm going to pause for that for a second and come back because I want to roll out of time. But I will put the steps into a newsletter and I'll send it to you. But here's what I want you to remember, because the vehicles are in there, and watch for my newsletter because I'll get you the steps in there. It's a little embarrassing it's not there. But anyways, find the top vehicles for you, right? And then put together that list of vehicle holders. And as you do that, then reach out to these holders. The whole point of the training, a little bit less of the FPDS or USA spending, but the point of the training is you can find the vehicles that are being used for your services and products. And you can find the contract vehicle holders, the people who have won those contract vehicles. And then you can reach out to them. Many of them would welcome you to come on the teams, larges and smalls, right? If you're a small business just getting started, you should team with the smalls. But if you've got traction, larges or smalls on a contract vehicle would be open to talking with you. Again, make sure you track it on the newsletter. Do me a favor. If you want me to make sure you get a copy of that newsletter thing where I walk down the steps truly of finding the contract vehicles, let me know and I will put that in. I'll come back because you're here live. I'll make sure I get each one of you kind of really a demonstration into your company. Actually, if you put your main NAICS code, I'll show it specific for that, just as my way of apologizing for kind of a little wonky USA spending demo. But hopefully that made sense. Remember, as you go forward, though, the government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process. And so is finding contract vehicles. I'll see you in the next training.